So if a person is dealing with skinny fat situations, this is where the person can look like they're a normal weight, but inside the body there's usually a lack of muscle mass and more body fat. And a lot of the gym bros are going to tell you, oh man, it's just your diet. You just got to change what you eat and everything's going to be great. But in this video, I want to help you understand that it's not just about your diet. Now, if a person is just eating out of a vending machine every day, well, then it's about your diet. But most people watching this channel understand that you can't eat out of a vending machine every day and not expect your physique to alter just a little bit. So in this video, I want to help you understand some physiological malfunctions that can be going on that can create this problem even if a person is eating the right way. And when a person really does need to make dietary changes, there's usually reasons that they're eating the way that they're eating. And when you can fix those things, it becomes a lot easier for them to make the right dietary changes. So we're going to go over some studies here, and I'll have links to all these studies in the description below so you can dig deeper into them if you want to. In the medical world, this is known as metabolically obese normal weight or normal weight obesity. And this is usually about people having excess visceral fat around their organs or ectopic fat that can happen inside the liver or pancreas or even inside your muscles. And I'm not going to dig too far into these different types of fats and all the significant trouble that they can cause, but I'll have a link in the description below for our video on the shocking dangers of the wrong types of body fats, where I really dig into that and share a lot of studies about issues that can create and how that really comes about. But when we're looking at the diet factors, if a person is just eating all these seed oils and all this processed junk from the vending machine that has the ability to cause the body to convert things into triglycerides and have them end up getting stored in places where you really don't want them stored. So let's look at the advice that all the gym bros are going to give you, and they're going to say that this is about protein intake and, oh man, you're not bringing in enough protein. And they're saying this because you'll look at studies like this: low protein intake is associated with frailty in older adults, and they say an inadequate protein intake leads to lower protein synthesis rates, resulting in net protein breakdown and muscle catabolism. So when a person isn't bringing in enough protein, yeah, that's a real problem. But in most cases, this is more about amino acid access. The body can't actually use protein to rebuild muscle. You can't take chicken that you ate and just make a muscle here. That protein has to be broken down into amino acids and all these cofactors that the body needs to really utilize all these amino acids correctly. So let's look at this study here on association between proton pump inhibitor use and muscle mass. And they say longer duration of PPI use appears to be associated with a greater likelihood of muscle mass decline. So a PPI, or a proton pump inhibitor, is an acid reflux medication that people use to turn off stomach acid if they're having some type of reflux symptoms. But when we turn off stomach acid, that turns off the body's ability to activate the enzyme pepsin, and we can't really break those proteins down into amino acids. We need that stomach acid in there to help us break down those proteins so we can access those amino acids. The amino acids are what the body uses to rebuild things like our muscle mass. The issue is a person doesn't need to be on a PPI to have low stomach acid. A person can have low stomach acid for a wide variety of reasons. If a person is just stressed, that can turn off the body's ability to produce enough hydrochloric acid in the stomach to really break our proteins down so we can access these amino acids. So when these amino acids are not coming in, now the body doesn't have the resources that it needs to rebuild and repair things. But to take it a step further, guess what? The body's going to get them anyways. It's going to shop at the 7-Eleven, and the 7-Eleven is you. It's going to break down your muscle tissue to access amino acids it needs to run functions in the body. Let's look at this study here on effects of essential amino acid supplementation on exercise and performance. And they say if an inadequate amount of essential amino acid precursors are available from dietary intake to meet the demand throughout the body, the breakdown of muscle protein and release of amino acids into the blood will provide the necessary essential amino acids. So the body just breaks itself down when you're not giving it what it really needs. We really want the body to be able to break protein down correctly so it can access all of those nutritional building blocks that the body needs. So a lot of times this tissue breakdown can just be about a hypochlorhydria or low stomach acid issue and an inability to bring in the amino acids that the body needs, so the body is forced to use this tissue breakdown situation. And the more muscle mass we break down changes our metabolic functions, and now the body is going to end up storing more fat. And just remember, if your doctor is telling you to take a PPI, I'm not telling you to stop doing that just because these studies talk about things that it can cause trouble with. Remember, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving anybody medical advice. I'm basically a professional stand-up comic turned nutrition author, because when I lost my voice for 8 years and 23 different doctors couldn't figure that out, I had to dig for my own answers. So now for 20 years, I've been teaching health professionals in more than 40 countries how to help their clients fix the actual underlying causes of problems instead of just covering up the symptoms. But we'll have all these studies in the description below so you can go through and figure out the right questions to ask your doctor. So the other big piece of advice that the gym bros are going to give you are you need to do resistance training. And resistance training has the ability to build that muscle mass. And it really is a very effective tool. I'm a big fan, but the benefits don't come from actually doing that resistance training. The resistance training is actually breaking those muscles down further. The benefits come when the body rebuilds and repairs after that micro trauma. So the benefits come after the workout. Well, here's a problem. If the body doesn't have the amino acids it needs to rebuild and repair those tissues, you're not really going to get the benefits. You're just hanging out in the gym so you can be sweaty on somebody's bench and then wipe it off. We really want to get the benefits of the effort that we're putting in. So we want to make sure the body can access the nutrients it needs to follow up that exercise with the proper rebuilding and repairing. Now here's another issue that we need to think about. There's an issue in the medical world called hypercatabolic syndrome. And let's look at this study here on hypercatabolic syndrome, molecular basis and effects of nutritional supplements with amino acids. And when they're talking about the common issues that show up with this hypercatabolic syndrome, they say all of these conditions have predominant catabolic molecules with significant muscular wasting and metabolic impairment. So these are people that are basically just kind of falling apart because the body's really pushed into this catabolic state where the body breaks itself down and they're not rebuilding the way that they should. Here's the problem. This can happen at a lower level and still create trouble for a lot of people. It was Dr. Obese who helped us understand that the body has this natural circadian rhythm between this catabolic state where the body breaks itself down and an anabolic state where the body rebuilds and repairs. So both of those states are really necessary. We need both. The problem is some people can get kind of stuck in one of those states most of the time and they don't move back and forth between that catabolic and anabolic state the way that they're supposed to. So if someone is stuck in this catabolic state, we see that they have a hard time rebuilding that muscle and adding any muscle mass to the body because the body can't get into this state where it needs to build. So we need to think about, to rebuild and repair muscle, the body needs those amino acid building blocks and all the nutritional cofactors that go with those that we get from our food, but it also needs to be able to move into the state where it can rebuild, where it does its rebuilding. So if someone is leaning too far on this catabolic side, which we see is very common, they're also going to have a harder time adding this muscle mass and changing the metabolic way that the body's operating and keep it from doing all of this fat storage. So even if a person isn't dealing with the severe situation of hypercatabolic syndrome, they can run some simple self-tests at home to get an idea, is the body leaning a little bit too far on that catabolic side? So if you're new to this channel and you don't know how to do that, we'll have a link in the description below for our totally free digestion course, and that kind of walks you through looking at these different parameters of your physiology at home and getting an idea, am I leaning too far on that catabolic side? And if I am, steps you can take to improve that imbalance. We'll also have the link in the description below for our video on understanding a catabolic imbalance, so you can dig deeper into that if you think that could be a problem for you. And if a person is having trouble breaking down proteins correctly, they can also have problems detoxing correctly. When this acid is not being formed in the stomach correctly, then we're also usually not going to be triggering bile to come out of the gallbladder like it should. The bile is supposed to come down and help us emulsify our dietary fats so that we can utilize those dietary fats. And if we're not emulsifying those dietary fats, then those fats can become a problem that the body has to deal with and figure out, where can I store this right now since I can't use it correctly. And it's very common for someone's bile not to be flowing correctly. So what I'll do is I'll have links in the description below for our videos on 10 signs of low stomach acid and our video on 10 signs of poor bile flow, so you can see, are any of these things obviously going wrong for me? And if they are, you can take steps to improve those situations. That totally free course walks you through a lot of steps you can take to improve this bile flow as well as improve this low stomach acid issue. Now, insulin resistance is often also a problem when the body is storing a lot of fats in the wrong places, and this is often about eating too many processed carbs and junks and seed oils and all this stuff. But a lot of times people start gravitating more towards carbohydrates and sugars because when they eat proteins or dietary fats, they feel lousy. They don't have enough stomach acid to break down those proteins correctly. The protein sits in their stomach like a rock for 6 hours, and they're like, I ain't doing that again. I'm just going to have a toaster pastry. And a lot of times when bile's not flowing, they'll feel lousy when they eat dietary fats since the body can't process them correctly. So they start to gravitate towards more of these carbs. But if you can fix these digestive malfunctions, now a person can have a steak and some broccoli and they feel great. They can start bringing these carbs down and improve this insulin resistance issue. So some steps that a person might want to take to fix this is maybe they want to supplement with some betaine HCl if they're having low stomach acid issues, but you really want to know how to do that the right way. I'm not going to cover all of that here, but I'll have a link in the description below for our video on 9 major betaine HCl mistakes that you want to avoid. You don't just want to take HCl capsules and do it the wrong way. Most people are going to magnify symptoms when they do that. So you'll want to watch that video and understand the right steps to take. And when we're looking at the dietary changes, if they're needed, they're easy. It's usually just consuming more protein if you're not consuming enough and reducing your processed carbohydrates or high starch type foods. But again, a person needs to qualify to do that. They need to be able to do that and feel good when they do that, or they're not going to stick with that. So it's usually about fixing digestive malfunctions, and then all this stuff becomes a whole lot easier. So I hope that gives you some insights into what's really creating this problem for most people. And if you want to see if these digestive malfunctions are a problem for you, you can jump over right now and check out our video on 10 signs of low stomach acid or our video on 10 signs of poor bile flow. I can't wait to hear about your results.